Welcome to Vermontitude, a collaborative effort between Great Eastern Radio, the Brattleboro Reformer, and BCTV to bring you the stories behind the stories on the topics you want to learn more about. Because there's always more, so there'll always be Vermontitude. Hosted by me, Peter Fish Case.
Welcome to Vermontitude. New episodes drop every Tuesday and can be found by going to vermontitude.com, reformer.com, or bctv.com, and of course, BCTV. We come to you from the studios of the Innovation Box on Flat Street. Vermontitude is done in collaboration with Great Eastern Radio, the Brattleboro Reformer, and Brattleboro Community TV. I'm Marty Cohn. While Fish is running for a one-year seat on the Brattleboro Select Board, I'm stepping in to try and cover the topics that are areas of concern for Windham County and the towns that reside within its borders. Today, my guests are Chris Mays, star reporter for the Reformer, and one of Brattleboro's treasures, Chloe Learey, executive director of the Winston Prouty Center for Child and Family Development. Our topics today are childcare and housing. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marty.
Okay, so the reason I wanted you on the show is star reporter Chris has written a number of front page stories about you, Chloe. And the last one was about this housing development. So my question for you is, why is somebody who runs one of the premier child care facilities in Brattleboro, what are you doing with housing?
That's a great question. What are we doing with housing? Well, I think it's we're the Winston Prouty Center for Child and Family Development, and really thinking about our mission to support the optimal development of children, and children are in the context of their families and only doing as well as their families are doing. And so at a time when we have a housing crisis and people can't find a place to live or are living in places that probably aren't ideal, it's imperative upon us, if we have a solution to that problem, to participate in it. So it's really a holistic picture of supporting child and family development, understanding that fundamentally people need a place to live and a safe place to live in order to think about the next thing that they, in terms of supporting their child's development. So it's all connected. It's all, a big holistic picture of what we're doing to support kids and families in our community.
Okay, so that's great, and I appreciate you wanting to do that, but this project seems pretty large. You want to do 300 units. What are the steps in order for you to be able to do that? Do you have any support for this?
I think, it started back when we bought the campus. So the former Austin School campus came up for sale essentially 6 years ago. And, we didn't have any intention of, we certainly didn't need a whole big campus. We didn't need to be landlords, but it felt like we could be stewards of this property. It's a community asset that's important to be used in whatever its next iteration is for the good of the community. And so really taking, and we have the support of the community theoretically. We did campus planning. We had people help us think about how to make it a sustainable campus, how best to use it as a community asset. And so I think we have people support. We recently got financial support from the Strolling of the Heifers to continue thinking about our planning, because what it takes to do housing, we're not a housing developer. And so we're going through the steps of conceptual design, what is possible on the site, what are the constraints of the site, and really thinking about the main part of campus. So it's a 180-acre campus. We're not talking about building houses out in the woods. We're talking about dense housing, campus infill on the main part of campus where there's already infrastructure. So we're talking apartment buildings and townhouses and that kind of sort of building a neighborhood. So designing that, conceptually designing that, we're in that process now. We hope to be finished by April, and continuing to look for financial support for that. And then that will lead to the next phases of permitting and thinking about finding a development partner, because again, we're not going to build the housing we're going to need help finding people who are interested in doing this kind of work.
So Chris, you've written a number of articles, and about not only this project, but lately I just pulled out just two of the articles that you recently put out. One about RVs for emergency housing declared uninhabitable, and then the whole issue of the eviction proposal. So what do you hear about the need for housing in Brattleboro?
Well, I understand the housing crisis is real. I mean, we hear stories all the time from people who are struggling to find places, struggling to stay where they are. So the Brattleboro Select Board endorsed a housing study last year in March, and that study said that 500 new units were needed of all different types. So this project would go a long way in achieving that.
And are you hearing anything about this particular project? Are people excited about it?
Yeah, people are excited about it. Most notably, I've been interviewing select board candidates, people who want to be on the select board, and a number of them have mentioned this project, and they talk about how it's really ambitious, but it would be really great,
So in terms of being ambitious, Chloe, what you came up with this idea? You have any idea in terms of when are we talking about something that's going to happen tomorrow, or are we talking about something that's going to happen in 10 years?
Yeah, no, the timeline is really important. Of course, it can't happen tomorrow. But I think what's great about this project is we're going to be able to phase it. So, aspirationally, do I hope that we have some units online within 2 years? I do. All 300? No. But, I think being thoughtful about, because the campus is full right now. I mean, we have 5 buildings. They're full of tenants. And so we're going to have to be really thoughtful about, we want everybody to stay on campus who wants to stay there. So if we are doing construction around them, we're going to have to phase it anyway. And I think it will be possible that will make it possible to have some success, frankly, again, because I think there's some skepticism about who are you all to be doing this project. I think we need some success under our belt. So if we get, part of the project done in a couple years, and then we'll go from there. So I would say the next 2 to 5 years. So in 5 years, maybe we'll have all the housing online.
Okay, but when you talk about the skepticism about you as the developer, it's your land, it's your idea, but aren't you putting together a team?
Yes, right. We're not doing it by ourselves. And, I think it's ultimately as the property, owner, when people say, why are you doing it? Part of it is because we can think of it. But we have a team right now. We have a landscape architect and an architect who are leading the master planning process. And then a couple people from the community on that team. And then I think sort of what's happened with us with the campus is an organic process of collecting people who are interested in being part of it. So, as we get to the next phase of development, again, we're going to look for somebody who does housing development and wants to partner with us. So I think we're in that process now of putting out feelers, and I think yes, it's complicated, and people will talk about the funding stack, and they will talk about projects that have had challenges in Brattleboro, the Sinnell building, the DeWitt block, or, there are different ideas that people have had that have been challenging. And I get that it's complicated, and I think that we're a smart community, and we can figure that out, and we're going to figure it out. And it's not Winston Prouty that's going to figure it out by ourselves. It's our community that's going to help us figure it out. So
Chris, let me ask you this. As you're going out and about and talking to these candidates and just out with your ear to the ground, are you picking up any negative stuff, or are you just hearing the positive stuff?
Just the positives, really. I understand there was a meeting with the neighbors, and there are some concerns about the traffic and the flow there. But I think those are things that can be ironed out, right? Right. Okay. So, and in terms of the funding, you just mentioned about you just got some money from Strolling of the Heifers. I think they gave you like 40% of their money. What does that mean to you to get that kind of support from Strolling of the Heifers? Yeah, I mean, I think as great as it is to get money, it's also just great to have the support of an organization that's meant so much to our community. It feels like it gives us a step forward and a sense of credibility that our community supports us. So it's
that we also have a $50,000 matching grant from the Thompson Trust to do this planning process. So, looking for remaining funds to match that. And so both of those things together, again, it's that it's a concrete example of people supporting what it is we're doing. So we just, I think it's having faith that if we're doing the right thing, people will come along and help us figure it out. Those are really small dollars in comparison to what the whole project is going to be. I mean, we're talking $250, $300 million project to build a neighborhood, just to say it's not. That will be infrastructure costs. That will be, we've talked about things like a recreation facility. We've certainly talked about a community building, because if you think about the gym at Winston Prouty right now, it has the Winter Farmers Market. The Wyndham Philharmonic had a big event in there yesterday. It's a community gathering space. So we're really talking about a neighborhood that everybody can access from the community, and it's big dollars. So we'll take it one step at a time.
All right, so we're going to look forward to hearing more about that, and probably front page stories by our ace reporter, Chris Mays.
Thanks, Chris.
Let me just shift to something else, since I actually get a twofer with you guys. I jokingly said that you were the executive director of a premier childcare facility. Chloe, that in and of itself is a lot of work. What's going on in terms of post-COVID, during COVID, in terms of looking for childcare here in Windham County?
Childcare, I feel like I'm still on the edge of trying to figure out if childcare is going to make it through COVID. So it was already really hard to find childcare. And, before the pandemic, we had 6 classrooms. So we have kids, infants through age 5. We had 6 classrooms. We reopened with 4 classrooms post-COVID. And we have a waiting list, so it's not like it's a lack of filling classrooms. And then we reopened with 5 classrooms this fall again. I mean, not reopened, but we added a 5th classroom. I think we're going to have to go back to 4 classrooms sometimes. We can't find the staff. It's really hard to figure out how to make it work if you can't find teachers, and yet our wait list grows and grows and grows. So it is really tough out there, and I'm hopeful. We did things. We have the Child Care Council Coalition of Windham County, which is really looking at a group of people trying to maintain we wanted to increase slots pre-COVID. Now we're just hoping to maintain slots, and we've done things like raise money to give bonuses to teachers to try to keep them in the field, and help reboot the early childhood program at the Windham Regional Career Center. So I think we're trying to do things locally that we can, but the whole system is going to have to change. And so there's a big child care bill in the legislature right now, with pieces around making it more affordable for families and making full-day pre-K for all 4- and 5-year-olds. So there are things happening. I don't know how long it's going to take, though. I don't know how long we can hold on. So it's tough. It's really, and families are really struggling. And I think, childcare is part of economic development in a way that I think COVID really helped people understand, and the solutions aren't really clear systemically. So it's going to be rough still, I think, for a little while. People are leaving the field. Home providers, which are an essential part of the sort of the mixed delivery system, are going out of business because they don't want to keep doing it. So I think it's a little touch and go. We'll see.
All right, so star reporter Chris, front page stories you've written about the issue. What are you hearing? Is there what moves are happening to improve the situation here in Windham County?
Well, I think everything that Chloe talked about was right on. I mean, I hear from people who I personally know who have left the field, young women who left the field because they were burnt out. A lot of the COVID protocols just became so stressful, and that whole environment with people stressed about their situations, whatever it was, just took a lot of people out of the field. And I see other providers looking for staff. I saw a child care provider near me in Brookline. They had a wait list of, I think, like 6 or 7 kids, and they were looking for staffing to meet those needs. And I'm aware just generally that the legislature is working on something, and it seems like there's bipartisan support, but we'll see.
Well, but in terms of the legislature, we've got some new people from Windham County. Where do you think Windham County stands in terms of supporting or doing something about the need for increased slots, or helping to get a livable wage so that we can attract professionals to the field?
In the last election, I heard only awareness and a willingness to dig into this issue. I don't know if that's what you guys heard.
Yeah, I think our delegation is very supportive and really understands the issues. It's interesting, in the sort of world of advocacy, call your legislators, let them know how important it is. They know how important it is, so you don't want to bug them too much. And the trick is, what's the policy, and who's how is that going to get written, and what's it going to look like on the front lines. So we're all sort of waiting with bated breath to see how it plays out.
Okay, so that's on the policy side. Last question I'll throw to both of you is, what do you think realistically we can do? I mean, you're painting a picture of you don't know if you can hang on, but what do you think tangibly we could do in the short term to improve the situation on this issue?
I think it's really about wages. If we cannot pay people enough, so we finally got our minimum, our lowest wage up to $15 an hour for entry-level assistant teacher position, but there's no new money in the system. So I don't know how. The only way to raise wages right now is to increase tuition, which is already $1,200 a month. It's like more than a mortgage payment. So we're gonna. You can't fix the market that way. But if I could do one thing right now, I would have an influx of money to increase wages so that we could attract people to the field.
Okay, Chris, you've had time to think about it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way to do it too. Yeah.
Increase wages. But just to bring it full circle to how we started, it's one thing to attract people and bring them wages. They have to have a place to live. And that's where this 300-unit housing project at Winston Prouty really makes a difference. Star reporter Chris Mays, thanks for being on the show. Chloe Learey, Brattleboro's treasure. Executive Director of the Winston Prouty Center for Child and Family Development. Thanks for being on the show. I'm Marty Cohn. Thanks for watching and listening to Vermontitude, and stay healthy.